Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode.
Welcome back to part 2 of a 2-part episode. Be sure to go back and listen to part 1. You might have missed something. Hope you enjoy the conversation today.
And throughout the summer, it was just, I don't know. I can't describe it. I can't explain it.
Everything was hard.
It just didn't work out. We were always $1, 100, 1,000 short.
Yep.
It just didn't matter what. And then it was, here we got a nice check. But it was all swallowed up in just in bills.
Yep.
And it was just, I don't know. I cannot explain that. And it took me, we went to August, I believe it was, of that year. When I said, I pulled my guys together and told them, I said, I'm digging a hole. I said, I cannot keep going like this. I was already in the hole now. And I did not, and I kept watching my house. I knew if I would sell it, I would have enough of collateral where we could pay off.
Yep.
So at that point, that's when I decided I'm not going to go further on this. So we sold the house probably about a half year later.
Mm-hmm.
About a half year later, we sold the house, and then we used that money to pay off the remaining debt, the dead horse.
Mm-hmm.
However, things happened that summer, and one of the guys got hurt, and it just, I don't know. Like I said, it just did not work out. And
so you know why now? Like I've heard you say why.
Well, I figured that out a long time later. I shouldn't even say a long time, but I cannot point back to when I realized that it did not work out because I did not have God's blessing on the business. But everything I did, because with Johnny Boom, I was his driver, this was his dealer, and I ran off with one of his best customers against his wishes and against his blessing.
Yep.
And during that time, our phone conversations were not always nice.
Yeah, yeah.
It was argumentative or finger pointing, and I did this and you did that, and I said you said this and you said that, and it was just...
Yeah.
It was just not the way it should have been. The bottom line is my eyes and my realization, my eyes were open and my realization in my mind that how God's blessing works in our daily lives, our daily things we do, our job or whatever it is. It's a pretty phenomenal thing if you really sit back and think about the whole thing. So
this is the part where when you said that at the banquet, I wanted to just stop. And I wanted everybody to just sit there and think about that for a minute. Because I see so many guys that are doing it right. They're struggling along. And we wonder why. So, you could have said, well, maybe I'm just a bad business manager. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. You can come up with all kinds of excuses and stuff. Or legit reasons, I shouldn't say excuses, but reasons and I've been there many times that I've been there. And when you said that, it was, I could see it across the audience, and I knew for me personally, it's like, how many times have I tried to do something when I knew I didn't have God's blessing on it? And then the next time, it's like, what? It just happens,
Yeah. And I don't know how this is at the bash. I wasn't sure. I wish I would have said, do you guys follow me? Are you guys following here what happened?
Yeah.
And
that
9 years later?
Yeah.
So
that's
we'll get to that.
Yep.
So when I was at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna leave the shed industry. I'm done. I did not see myself. I did not like my truck anymore. I did not. Well, we were out of money. We were in the hole. I did not have the resources to go and invest in a bigger truck, pull with my fancy air brake trailer, if you want to call it that way. I was out. I was done. At that point, I was thinking I'm going to go into construction, and I didn't even. We just simply closed up. What was interesting to me, and could I say mind-boggling a little bit, and the last shed that we made was my own shed, and that was a 14 by 24. On a Saturday morning, I went back to the shop all by myself. Nobody was around anymore. We pretty well, Friday, I think, was the last day. The shed was done. It was sitting there. I went through the shed, counted every piece of wood, added up my costs, including the time and labor of what we put in and what I paid the guys. And it did not make sense. It simply did not make sense. If I figured the costs and what I actually have in that shed, and
You should have been making money.
I should have been making money. It did not make sense. And I just I just closed it. Yeah. And I just, I don't, when did I take the shed home? Maybe it was on a Monday evening. I had one more week left in the building.
Yeah.
So I did not have to take it out. I don't think I took it out that day because I did it later. But either way, I just in my clothes shop, my brother and my dad came and we loaded up the tools that were left over and took everything home. And I can't remember how that was, but the neighbor man right beside me had a dump truck, and I called him. I said, could you bring me a couple load of stone? So we leveled out an area for that. It was a little bit of a grade, so we powered them up a little bit. That shed still sits there.
No way. That's awesome.
So anyway, it just didn't make sense. So when I was calling around to sell my equipment was sold very quickly. The pickup, I held on to that for a while, but eventually I did sell that and let that go. But the trailer, the 48-foot trailer, I called King, and he goes, I want the trailer. He goes, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know yet. He goes, come drive my F800. And I said, I'm not expecting that, but I said I might consider that. And then I told him I would do it short term. Mm-hmm. And one of the terms, or one of the how do I say, a statement that he made struck to me. He goes, there's still a buck to be made in trucking. That's what kind of led me on to, because at that point, that was my interest. I needed to make a buck.
Yep.
Really, seriously, I did. And he had this F800, not a bad little truck, 240 horsepower with a 10-speed. Mm-hmm. It was a dog. it was all I knew.
Especially in these hills.
Yeah. We'd go down like 83, which is south of York, downshift 3 gears.
Yeah.
And now with our Pete's,
you don't even shift.
We don't downshift nothing. Not on any of those hills.
Yeah, well, your Pete's might be a little special too. I don't think they're standard either.
I drove the F800 for about 10 months, put just right at 100,000 miles, and then he upgraded me to a Ford Aeromax, which was like a larger. It was an 8,000, but it was just a little bit different from the 9,000. Mm-hmm. Again, it had a little Ford motor, and that truck came from. There was an upfitter in Kentucky, I believe it was, that was building the hotshot rigs.
Yeah, and
he bought it from them.
Okay.
And that was not a bad truck. Again, it was just a little on the low horsepower side. Mm-hmm. The motors was definitely pretty much the same thing, only it had a 270 instead of a 240 horse. Mm-hmm. I drove that truck for maybe 2 years, and that's when Ivan and King was steering towards the Pete's. He had a 91, I believe it was. That would have been in 90. Okay, let me think about it. Now it's 92, 93. So this truck was only a couple of years old. It was actually a really sweet Pete. It had a 3176, a 350 horse.
Oh, yeah.
And what a difference. Now you had the lower RPM, higher torque engine versus the little ones
Screamers.
had the higher RPMs with the low torque. It was just night and day difference. Yeah. You could grab your gears and just lug them out and go.
That's cool.
And Ivan rode out the F800s till they were, well, not just the F800s, both Fords, till they, at 400,000 miles, everything started going wrong with those trucks. Oh. And he just threw his hands up and said, get these trucks out of here. And he ordered a 94, and a year later, the 95 came. And the 95 was mine. Mm-hmm. And I put about 600,000 miles on that. And here's what's interesting. Tomorrow, that 95 is going to be here in my driveway.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Wow.
No, not tomorrow. Today.
Today?
Today, yes.
He's bringing it.
Yes. So that truck's still hauling sheds. And
No.
Campbell Miller is the proud owner of that truck, and he's going to bring it over. So, yeah,
Wow.
much fun.
That's cool.
The truck is still in the original finish as far as paint.
No way.
It it looks a little rough.
Yeah.
But, needless
That
to
is
say,
so cool.
mechanically wise, it's been rebuilt and kept on the road.
Wow.
So in 99, let me think a little bit here. In 1999, on a Saturday morning, I get a phone call from a guy named Ben. And he said, I would like for you, or what level of interest do you have in buying your own truck and hauling for me? My first answer was, and it didn't take me long to get this answer out. I said, I'm interested only if I can have Ivan's blessing. Because this was Ivan's account.
Yep.
I was Ivan's driver.
Yep.
And I did not want to be a driver running off with an account against his wishes and without his blessing.
Yep.
I was not about to repeat myself from 9 years earlier.
Yep.
And Ivan did not agree to it. And I told Ivan, I said, hey, don't worry about it. And at that conversation, that meeting, he tells me, well, he goes, I wasn't going to tell you this now, but I will. He goes, I have a brand new Pete ordered for you. And at that time, when you ordered a Pete, you had to wait like 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right about 10 months. So that truck came in at the end of 99.
Okay.
And just before Thanksgiving, Ivan tells me he sold King Transport. I'm like, what? And I had just gotten the brand new trailer, and the Pete was still sitting in Lancaster, and he told me he wanted to wait till after Thanksgiving to do anything with the Pete. Well, now I knew why. And so now the Pete was still sitting there, was no owner, no title, nobody had bought the truck yet.
Yeah.
And while we went, and did our Thanksgiving, and when I came back from Thanksgiving back to work, I went in there in his office on Monday, and I said, I would like to buy the new Pete. And he says, well, you're going to have to talk to the new owners, and which was Sam Stolzfus. And so I went to talk to Sam, and Sam said, oh, you can have it. You can have it. Then I said, I'd like to buy a trailer. Oh, we'll sell you a trailer. Now, you following me here?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you can have it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll sell you a trailer.
Yeah.
But 9 years earlier, everything was a fight.
Yeah.
Everything was like, no, you're not. No. Yes. No. Yes.
Yeah.
It was everything. Oh, you can have it. We'll sell you a trailer. Everything was opposite.
Yeah.
It was just.
Even from what Ivan had said just a little before he sold it, that he didn't want you picking up that account.
Oh, that was over.
Yeah.
When he
done.
sold,
Yes.
those accounts were not locked in.
Yeah.
Everything was wide open. And Ben told me a year earlier that he was going to let the door open for me anytime when I wanted it.
All right.
He wasn't going to close that door.
Yeah.
Ben and I we knew each other from little up, and
Cool.
And he just thought that would be a good deal, and I did too. But I wasn't going to do it without God's blessing.
Yeah.
And needless to say, I knew then that I was going to need more trucks. I knew right away I was going to need two. When I did get the second truck, Furnace Road, even in 2000 was my first year, I wasn't able to keep up. I hired guys to take loads
to help.
out.
Yeah.
Zook, probably my number one. There was another guy named Mel Stolzfus, but did some loads. So we were all in the same community, and I'll help you out. We'll take a load out for you. And that worked out real nice. But I had a neighbor guy. He goes, I want to run loads for you Saturdays. And he did that.
Yeah.
A lot of that. And so we kept the truck rolling. It was amazing what we did there. And by the time the second truck was done, the neighbor man came over. He was probably 23, 24 years old. And he was full of energy. And he called himself Mustang. And he wasn't Mustang. Oh, my word.
Yeah.
He was probably in a similar situation where he needed to get out and make some money.
Yeah.
And again, there was a buck to be made, and he did that.
Yeah.
And he gave it all. He ran the wheels off that truck. And so did I, because Furnace Road, everything that they had, we just scrambled to get it out. So right away, the plan went on. We're going to get the third truck. That's when Second Chance came with total, total wreck. How do I say that? Totally demolished truck. And this was sitting in a junkyard in north of Dallas somewhere in Texas. And I bought the 2-year-old truck with 200,000 miles on for $10,000.
Oh, wow. It was in bad shape.
Yes, it was in bad shape.
Wow.
So we had the truck hauled up back to Ohio, and there was a guy there in Ohio that was rebuilding trucks. It didn't matter what the condition was. I'll rebuild it. So they rebuilt that, and that's where the Second Chance came in, because we felt that was a good name for the truck.
It is.
To give the truck a second chance.
Yep.
And Delmar, which is Mustang, rode that truck, and that's when the third driver came in. And the Ricochet, he's going to be here tomorrow.
Today.
Mustang obviously could not make
it's
it today
now.
So
Yeah.
I keep saying tomorrow.
Well, it's
my
because
goodness.
it's always been tomorrow. Now it's today. It's like
It is today.
Oh my word!
I'll get it together.
Oh no, you're good.
So anyway, yeah, that's where Woody's Transport, we just ran and ran. Yes. And so when 04 came along, I made an agreement with my dad for have some land where we are today. And at that point, we started pursuing the building permits, which is pretty much 2 years in process of building.
My.
So we started that process probably in 2000. And as long as the bills, the was an attorney, I guess you could call it attorney or land planner. I think that's what it was called, a planner or something. He was a local guy from here, and as long as I kept paying his bills, he kept moving forward.
Oh, nice.
And one time he says, "Hey, you're ready for your perk tests and your permits." And so, of course, as we kept going, the perk tests are for sewage.
Yeah.
I had to get a sewage permit before I could get a building permit.
Yep.
And the sewage permit officer was a local guy here. He goes, "You can come out to my house tonight. I'll get you a permit." So I went to his house and went right in his kitchen.
Oh, my.
I sat there on his kitchen table, and he wrote me out his permit. I came home. I went to the township office the next day and came home with my building
With
permit.
your building permit.
Oh, my word. That was amazing. And what was really amazing, during this time, I was calling my loan officer, and I, knew this loan officer. I was borrowing money along the way to buy these trucks and trailers. And he said, I told him, I said, I needed money to order my basement walls. I used precast concrete walls, which we're sitting in on my basement right now.
Yep.
We used precast concrete walls, and I had a personal friend that was the weaver of the Weaver Precast, was the owner of that, or part owner anyway. And he told me where to go for the local rep, and it was in this guy's basement. And he said, "Yeah, you just go in, pull up to this house garage door, and you go through the garage door and go down his basement." And he was sitting in there. Yep. I called him. He knew I was coming.
Yeah.
And I had a blueprint, and we ordered the walls. I had to leave a check there.
Oh, yeah.
And the banker said, "Oh, yeah, just write the check." He goes, "When I get that check, I'll cover it for you." And so, of course, now we needed another one once we had the wall set. And now we wanted the local lumber yard to come in with the lumber. He goes, "Yeah, just keep writing checks." I did well over $100,000 in checks before
Just writing checks.
ever met and signed papers.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And because I was like the general, I could get the 10% discounts if I paid within 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
For all the bills from the lumberyard.
Yep.
That ended up being thousands of
Oh, yeah.
dollars.
That makes a big
Thousands.
difference. Yes.
So I made phone calls. I got electricians, recommendations. My neighbor next door to me was a plumber / farmer at that point, and he worked his butt off. I mean, we went through this in here in the basement door, in the stone, dug little ditches to lay the drain pipes and stuff in for like the kitchen sink and all that stuff. All those pipes were laid, and the mechanical room in the back, bathroom, everything did all that in the evening when after chores. And yeah, so everything just went together, and I had plumbers, electricians. Roofer was a friend. Small family business. The siding siding and the shingles came from Furnace Road at cost.
No way. That's cool.
At cost.
Yeah.
An ex-shed hauler, which would have been Pickers' brother,
Oh, okay.
was doing siding, a one-man show, and he did the entire house all by himself.
Wow.
So all he had to do was bring his equipment, his jacks, his scaffolding, and didn't matter how long it took him. He did a very nice job. And
Yeah, you have a absolutely beautiful place.
so everything was just,
Yep.
it was really amazing how everything came together. And by the time we were done, we went over a little bit, and so we sold our other house in Farmersville. We used that
To get it.
to get back up to where we were in our quota. And the bank that we were dealing with was supposedly merged with another bank, and so that made it a little bit more difficult. I was no longer dealing with the local, as many local guys as I was in the beginning. And so because of the property, unique property that we have here, the value of the property was way more than what I spent.
Oh, yeah.
And so we went with a home equity loan.
Okay.
All we had to do was just sign paperwork, and we had a home equity loan, and we never actually had an official
mortgage. Yeah,
and
that's cool.
the home equity loan, I could save a little interest if I went automatic pay every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And so to make that work, we set up a separate checking account for that.
Yep.
All we had to do was just make sure there's money in
Yeah.
there,
Yep.
for that mortgage. And that worked out fine. It worked out good. We had the place paid off in 12 years.
Nice. Yeah.
That was huge for me, but it worked.
Yeah, it is. That's awesome. And it is. It's phenomenal. I love coming and hanging out here. Your basement kitchen and stuff is,
So
you got the little booths and all that. It's, I love it. It's cool.
So in the end of, I think it was in 2017, when I became overwhelmed. We had 6 trucks here at Woody's, and I was like, I can't say I was burning out, but there was many times I was working on trucks till midnight.
Oh, my.
And 5 o'clock the next morning, I was out with the
going.
rest of the guys running down the road. It didn't matter where we went. I was right there. And we were always running together. We ran 10 loads a week up to Connecticut every week, and to the same place. We went to Virginia, 4 loads. We had New Jersey. We had New York. We were all over the place. Wherever, whatever. We did it. And in 17, at the end of 17, I decided, I had enough. And I made a hard decision and a tough decision to pull out from Furnace Road, pull my trucks out of Furnace Road. Ben didn't think I was making the right decision, but I told him, I said, you have more work than what I want.
Yeah.
And he knew that.
Yep.
So word got out, and guys jumping out of the woodwork, hey, I want that. I want one of your trucks.
Yep.
And it didn't take long. I sold 3 trucks in a hurry, real fast. And Ben and I, we still call each other up and, hey, how you doing? Where are you at today?
Yep.
And so it's been good. Ben will be here tonight.
Oh, good.
And he's going to celebrate with us.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a great. I wish for any one of you guys out there, man, if you get this podcast before tonight, come on out.
Yeah, I wish you would.
Don't miss it.
It takes a little while for us to get our act together and get it. By the time they get this, they'll be like, that was 2 months ago.
Anyway, 40 years went by, and it's hard to believe I'm just shy of 4 million miles. The reason I'm shy of 4 million at 40 years because of my first 7 years with the little pickup.
Yeah.
I did not get the miles.
Yeah, sure.
There was a lot of local and New Jersey, a little bit New York, and a little bit of Connecticut with that little truck. But Jersey all day long. Jersey and Delaware. Delaware.
Yep.
There were a couple guys in Delaware maybe. Yes. So just a lot of local stuff. We just didn't get the miles like I do today.
Yeah.
And when I went with King, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is nuts. I was not program quite like that.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I survived, could I say, and I made it,
Yeah.
and I stuck to it, and we did, yeah. King was great. We made a buck. We did.
Yeah.
And then we were able to bring, we bought a house again after a couple years from after the hauling.
Yep.
So we did fine, and then we were able to upgrade our family vehicles and so forth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we did fine, and I can't say nothing bad. And wish I had some of the skills, could I say, if I call it skills or management that King had. And how did he do that? We often talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
How did he do that? How did he get us guys to do what we
you
did?
did.
And
Yeah.
to shine up the trucks
Yeah.
and to wash them every week. And it was just amazing.
Yeah.
We kind of like urged each other along. Or
Oh, yeah.
Each
Yeah.
other
Yep,
along,
yep.
however you want to say that.
Yep.
And the King drivers, I think they will all be here today.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Yeah.
there'll be a little bit of a.
Oh yeah, they
we're
still
gonna do
got a
some
little bit
picture
of that.
taking and get these.
Oh,
old
that
clips
that would be
together.
good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, any surprises today?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really.
Okay.
Um,
No announcement of like so. By the time this comes out, the day will be over. So no worries there. But how much more is in the tank?
what tank?
Your tank.
I don't know that. Somebody asked me that question the other day.
You still feel good.
I have no plans on a given year or
You don't.
age
That's cool.
to retire.
Yeah.
I enjoy what I do.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
hard to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go trucking.
And go trucking.
It's not hard.
But you didn't. So it sounds like when I listened to what you said at the beginning of at the banquet and here, it doesn't sound like you grew up wanting to drive trucks. Like it just, or did you have a thing for diesel back then?
Yes.
Like my dad told me when I was like probably 11 or 12 years old. He's like, you need a steering wheel. It was just a given. I grew up building houses and sheds and all kinds of stuff.
I was not able to talk about that.
Well, that's true.
As much as I love big trucks.
So you did have the big truck thing going on. So that was there.
Yeah, well, okay. Me as a kid, we had bicycles.
Yeah.
So that was my motorcycle. So I didn't have
okay.
anything to to be my big truck. I didn't have nothing, you know. Now when Dad's pickup, excuse me, we would try to like act like we're driving, you know, a semi truck and shift them like that and that kind of thing. But
Jake brakes, all that.
it was not a thing that a Christian or a family man should do.
Yeah. We did have that. I even remember as a young adult there in Kentucky, there was a couple guys that drove trucks and they were kind of looked down on.
You know,
It's not a good thing.
I can say this now. My dad told me when I started buying and hauling little red barns, he goes, just don't buy one of those Peterbilts.
Oh boy. Yep.
And
We've kind of
that
heard
was
that.
nobody had Peterbilts. Man, I said no.
Yeah.
I said, Dad, we haul sheds. We're
going to use Fords.
because that's what we
awesome.
have to have.
Yeah.
And nobody knew what was going to happen.
No.
We didn't know that it was going to go to where it did today. We didn't know we were going to be running Canada and 600 miles across multiple state lines. We didn't know that.
Yep.
And that was not going on 40 years ago.
No.
It was not.
And now, we talk about how many semi trucks run out of Lancaster County every day.
Well, one of the biggest things that lit that whole thing was a guy named Keith Cloder. Keith Cloder was from
Is
the
that Cloder Farms? Oh yeah.
And he went to the Big E, which is the state expedition show for the state of Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Maine. It was combined, the three states, into one in Springfield, Mass, which is just north of Hartford.
Yes.
Yeah, straight north of Hartford. And Keith Cloder was a dealer in big carriages, buggies with the big wheels. And he thought it would be cool to be at this Big E show with the carriage in a shed.
Oh, in a shed. Yeah.
So he bought a shed here at Lancaster from Land Structures and had it trucked up by a guy named Tiny. Who was Tiny? I'm not sure. But he trucked it up with no permits, nothing. That's how Tiny was.
Oh, yeah.
And he got it there. And at the show, there was more people interested in the shed than the carriages. The light came on, and Keith began to realize I'm promoting the wrong product.
Yeah.
And that's when Keith, and that was pretty new to be at that time for someone to buy wholesale and sell resale.
Yeah.
And Sam Stoltzfus was one of Mel, well, that was not Mel yet. It was Eli Lance. Lance Structures drivers. And so Sam and had a friend, Claire Byler, as a welder. So Sam and Claire were friends, and Sam could say, Claire, I need for you to build a trailer like this, do this. And so it was Claire and Sam that they banged their heads together.
That's where the customization stuff started.
That's where this whole thing got started, where David Fisher got the idea, well, I can make a trailer like that.
Yeah, true.
And that's where it got started. Yeah. So Sam would go up to Connecticut there and show Keith and his son Jason how to deliver sheds. And he actually took trailers up and said, this is how. Yeah. And that's so Sam overstepped. Well, I did not overstep, but he went over and beyond to help them and show them the ropes.
Show them how to do it, yeah.
And a lot of people saw what's going on there and followed after it.
Yeah.
And when the Cloder thing, when they started getting 3 loads a week, we thought this was mind-blowing. Cloder grew really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, very fast. Yeah. And when I said earlier, what year would have been that? 2000? Well, it wasn't 2000 right away. It would have been about 2004. We were hauling 10 loads a week. That was only the vinyl-sided sheds.
Yes.
That was not the gazebos. That was not the other wood stuff. And we were still on the lower percentage. So they were getting 20 and 30 loads of semi-loads of stuff every week.
Oh, my word.
It was unbelievable. You could be in there, and there was as many as 8 and 9 trucks
waiting there
at once.
Yeah.
All from Lancaster, unloading at once. The place was so big, you couldn't see each other.
Yeah.
Or you didn't know the other was there because he might have been around the corner.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to talk to nobody. We pulled in, backed up, plop, 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 and we were gone 20 minutes later. Yeah. And so, it was... That was amazing.
So who knows where this is going, where this journey goes?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah,
it really is.
I don't personally. My grandpa told me, oh my, let me think. Back in probably the early '80s, about the time you were getting started, I was helping him on the farm. I was out of school, and he had a Amish very small dairy farm. New order, so we had electric and stuff like that, and tractors, had rubber tires and stuff on it. But we did custom hay work too. And I remember one day, I don't know, we were out doing something with hay. I remember that. And I asked him, I said, how long you gonna keep doing this? Because we would put up 5,000-6,000 square bales. I don't know if that's a big number or not. It seemed huge to us at the time. Square bales of alfalfa hay, and it was work. And
was this in Tennessee?
This was in Kentucky, in Guthrie. And he told me, he said, as long as you do what you love, you'll never work and you'll never have to retire. And the older I get, the more I grab on and I embrace that philosophy. Every decision I make right now, people look at my life, especially on Facebook, because I like to poke the bear. People look at my life and they're like, what in the world is he doing? Well, all my decisions for the last 5 years are made on the fact, can I do this the rest of my life and be happy doing it? And that's what I see in you. You're happy. Well, like you said, you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you go haul sheds, and you get to drive your gorgeous truck around. Why not? Who cares about retirement?
Well, it's like I'm gonna do something.
Yeah. So you might as well do
I'm not
what.
just gonna go sit down somewhere.
Yeah,
I can't do that. That's the hardest thing.
And
for
you
me
got
to
some
do.
projects you're working on
Yeah,
that you want to get done.
I got projects and I got projects waiting.
Yeah.
So, sure, why not?
Yeah. I'm with you the whole way. Anything you want to add in closing as far as something for the shed industry out there? Word of encouragement, a word of advice, or your whole story is encouragement and advice. I get that, but
I have told guys already, if you want to haul sheds, get the right equipment. If you want to start out with a little bitty car trailer and block them up, that's fine, but don't wait. You're just wasting time.
Yep.
If you're serious, if you have loads, if you have work waiting on you, it's much better.
Yeah.
To get the right truck and the right trailer.
And the right trailer. That's good.
The trailers,
Yep.
There's a wide range in there in price. Trailers are high price.
We talked about that last night.
And it's just...
Can you even imagine starting right now?
No.
And we see guys just jump in head over heels.
And they buy 3 big pieces. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, now you got to have a mule. I mean, nobody's going to deliver sheds without a mule.
So
I can go buy a couple pieces of 4-inch pipe.
The big for me was the pickup.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, in '84, when I ordered that pickup, it was in '84. I still had the handwritten invoice. It was $16,000.
Wow.
I had air conditioning. That was an option.
Oh, yeah.
But I did not get the electric windows. I felt the electric windows at $600 was a little
But
excessive.
that's a little excessive.
So I just remembered, I was like, I can crank windows.
Yeah.
And so I can say I thought about it, that don't spend that money. It was, could I say it was money I didn't have? So that's a tough decision for somebody starting up today. You're going to spend money you don't have, but don't spend money that you don't need.
Yeah.
Unless you think like, oh, well, that's just going to be a small hill, or it's not going to be a burden to you, or something like that. $600. That was 2 payments.
Yeah. It is tough. It's where we're at today. It's like, wow. So, well, thank you. Thank you for being open, for sharing your heart, your story. There's life is about ups and downs. I mean, life is ups and downs. It's what we do with them. It's what we do with them.
We've had good days. We've had hard days. We've had years that we had much more financial struggles. Other years is like, well, this worked out.
Yeah.
But yet, overall, as Woody's Transport, we can look back and say, wow, really, wow. But like I said, there was times, that we were scraping the bottoms, and we all did that.
Yeah. And I love the way you bring it all back around full circle in the fact that it's all honor and glory to God. It's the blessing that He's given you when you do it the right way.
Well, that was truly an amazing. And as I continue to look back, and things happen, I didn't realize what was going on until you think back.
Yeah.
It's like,
I get that.
Really? That was amazing. What a blessing that was. Blessings happening around me, or it did, that I didn't realize what it actually was. Yeah. Till years later, you look back and you're like, you begin to understand things and see things through a different way of seeing things.
Well, anyway, we're going to wrap this one up. It's been an honor. It's good. I consider you one of my best friends, so it's always good to get to chat with you and hang out with you. So
it's always a pleasure to sit down and chit chat. Talk about things.
Sometimes I just want to carry the mic around with me and catch some of the conversations we get at different places. It's that good. So anyway, thank y'all for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Catch us next week. Ambassador Friday Fun Days. That's where it's all at. And don't forget to listen to Susan on Mondays and the ever famous Shed Geek on Wednesdays. Y'all have a great day.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.